Welcome back. I'm here today with Sharlene Wells Hawkes. Charlene, welcome to today's show.
Thank you. Always great to be with you.
So, Charlene, let's start with your background. Miss America fits into your life somewhere, right?
30 years ago. We go back 3 decades on that one. Yeah, that was 1984. I was 20 years old. I was a baby, but it was an interesting year. I learned a lot of trial and error, but great discovery year for me.
And then you fast forwarding that you're today with ESPN.
Well, that was I worked with ESPN for 16 years,
Okay.
but I left a long time ago. 2005 is the last time that I worked with them. It was just I was making a big transition over to business. So, and then of course with children and everything, it was really too difficult to continue on with that kind of lifestyle.
So how was it, in juggling career and family? Was it easy for you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was tough. Because I worked with ESPN for 7 years full time, and during that time, so my 3 of my 4 children were born, and so I was really ramping down. It just got harder and harder and harder. And fortunately, I had the help of my mom. Came over and helped when I had to go off for college football. I did 5 years of sideline football for Big Ten. And so that was every single week I'd be gone 3 or 4 days during the football season. So that was probably my hardest. But then I started ramping down. I just did a lot of freelance work and then went back and got my master's degree. Finished that in 2005 and then got into business. So that's where I really had originally intended of being. But ESPN was kind of a fun sidetrack.
Just a touch point. Not a lot of women working for ESPN when you started.
No, I was the 3rd woman to work there on air.
And what was that like?
Oh my gosh. I didn't set out to be a pioneer or anything. I didn't set out for any of that. I just really loved sports. And I wasn't an expert by any means in sports, especially not when it came to data collection. What I loved was the microcosm of life's drama down on the field, the court, the track. It was, you just see all these David and Goliath stories and the triumphs against all odds and the, devastating defeats and the amazing comebacks. And that's the part that I loved about being with ESPN. So I got a chance to do a lot of World Cup soccer. I was the reporter, the feature reporter for the U.S. team during that time. World Alpine Championships, Kentucky Derby, French Open, a lot of pre-Olympic kind of stuff, college football. So I had a good time.
Out of all the sports that you covered, which was your favorite?
I'd have to say World Cup soccer because I was in Argentina in 1978. I grew up in South America. I was born in Paraguay.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
Well, so I spent most of my formative years in South America, but I was a teenager in 1978 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, when they hosted. No, they didn't host. They won the World Cup soccer, and the country went wild. And to be right in the middle of that, I mean, it was incredible. So I'd followed soccer ever since then. So to be able to cover World Cup soccer for about 6 months in '94, I think it was really, really incredible. And to be on the field during the final, Brazil, Italy, oh, that was amazing.
So being in South America, you're fluent in Spanish?
Yeah, it's getting a little rusty, and it's been a long time since I've been down there. But yeah, I grew up speaking Castellano. It's the Argentine Spanish with the j sound, yeah.
Now, while I got you here, I remember you, for Miss America, one of your talents was the harp.
The Paraguayan harp.
Yeah.
Because I was born in Asunción, Paraguay.
Don't ask me why I remember that.
How did you? Yeah, exactly. Wow, look at you.
But
it was very different.
Yeah.
Nobody else playing the Paraguayan harp, no.
And you just learned that in your spare time?
Yeah, when I was down in Argentina, and I was about 12 years old when my dad took me back to Paraguay because I hadn't been there since I was a baby. So he took me back there, and I just fell in love with the Paraguayan harp. It was just such a beautiful sound, very romantic sound. And so I wanted to learn. So we found a Paraguayan harp teacher in Buenos Aires, and he would come over to my house and teach me. And so several years later, I got good enough that it could make for a nice presentation for Miss America. And I sang along with playing the harp. And, it's all about differentiation sometimes. I actually grew up playing the piano. My mom was a concert pianist. But there were a lot of other pianists back there. So, it's kind of like, it's going to be different. Well, the Paraguayan harp. So it worked.
Not a great culture there.
Beautiful.
How many brothers and
people.
sisters?
There's 7 of us, 7 siblings. I'm 5th of 7. I have 2 older sisters, 2 older brothers, and then 2 younger sisters.
So you're right in the middle of the pack then.
I know.
So.
But I'm the oldest of my mom and dad married because my dad was a widower. He had 3 children. And when he met my mom, who had been divorced, and she had a daughter, So they got married, and then I came along. So I kind of feel like the oldest of the second batch. We're a blended family, but I grew up with, all my technically my stepsisters and brothers, but I didn't feel that. I just felt like they're my sisters and brother.
I'm here today visiting with Sharlene Wells Hawkes. She is a former Miss America, also well-versed, experienced at ESPN. And Sharlene, we need to take a quick break.
Okay.
And I want to fast forward this when we get back to Remember My Service and what that's all about.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back after these messages.
I love fishing, with my family.
I think it would be easier to use a net.
It was so much fun.
The times when we are together, it makes it all the more worth it.
Having Dad teach them how to cast a fly rod, and
as long as we're doing stuff together, we're having fun.
Some people see a father and a son fishing together, while others see a succession plan. Welcome back. I'm here today with Sharlene Wells Hawkes. We've been talking about your journey through life, Miss America, ESPN, and we're catching up now to what you're working on now. Remember My Service. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, this has become my passion, and I have to say, of all the fun things that I've been able to do in my life, this is probably my favorite. Other than being mom, that's number one, because it's been a crazy ride, but I love my kids. But about 10 years ago, I started working for Story Rock, which is a technology company in Salt Lake City, and I came on as the chief marketing officer. And very soon after that, we specialize in digital content management, and we got approached by a general officer of one of the largest geographical commands in the Army Reserve, and he said, "I need help managing our digital content. I have my public affairs officers that's grabbing content over here, photos and videos and newsletters and everything, but I never see it. It's on some computer somewhere. My historian, my soldiers, my families, they're all gathering all this content that's being hidden on computers everywhere. I want to do something with it. I need a collection of this. I need to bring it all together and tell our unit's story, and then give it to my soldiers and say, thank you for your service. Here's what you did. Here's who you served with. Here are the sacrifices that were made, the accomplishments of together, that we did together." And so we did that, and it's just exploded. For the last 10 years, it's grown. We've now worked with half the National Guard. We've worked with Army divisions, with the Navy, and more of these commands are coming to us to help them tell their story, not only for the preservation of their legacy and their history, but because it builds morale. It builds pride and unit cohesion when they all know what they've accomplished together. So gradually over the last few years, I've really put all my attention on the Remember My Service division of Story Rock. It's now a wholly owned subsidiary. In fact, that's what I'm doing out here in San Francisco, is not only speaking tonight, but because I'm working with a bunch of companies on sponsorships for some of these commands, also sponsorships for some work that we're doing for the Department of Defense and their commemorations. We just finished a big project with the Korean War 60th commemoration. We're going to do the same thing for the Vietnam War 50th commemoration.
Wow. And so getting included into the Remember My Service, are the people, soldiers, veterans contacting you, or how do they?
We have become kind of sponsor broker. It's not my role necessarily, but we're kind of the middleman. So companies or individuals that want to sponsor a brigade or sponsor our Vietnam War 50th commemoration or something to show their support, they contact us, and then we match them up. For instance, I got contacted by a woman in Ohio who said, my dad served in the Army. She's a CEO of a company, and she said, I want to support one of the brigades in the Army. And I said, well, number one on our list is the 125th Stryker Brigade Combat Team out of Fairbanks, Alaska. She's in Ohio. They're in Alaska. She says, great, I'll sponsor them. So she took care of the whole. So all 4,500 of these soldiers are getting their historical record as a thanks from her and from the commanding officers.
Organizing the data that goes in there, who runs that process?
Our team, we have developed such a great process over the years. What we do is we match up. I have a team of 3 assigned to every command. I have a project manager, I have a video specialist, and our graphic design. And those 3 work with that command. We give them a checklist of all the stuff that we need. And I just say, here's all my stuff. It's like a treasure checklist. You're going to go out there and find it, bring it all, send it to us. And that usually takes them about 8 weeks. They send it to us, and then we go to work. We do all the design layouts. We do all the video editing of all the stuff that they send us, all the B-roll, the interviews, and everything. And then we deliver it back to them in a very high-class archival quality with a hardbound book, coffee table book, and an ebook, a multimedia ebook that is then shared with no restrictions to anybody that they want to help tell their story.
And you'll use social media or the websites with them too?
Yeah, anything that they want. So it's on it's full mobile applications, everything that they need. And we archive everything that we do with the Library of Congress, with the Center of Military History, with the Army Historical Foundation, the Naval Historical Foundation, National Guard Bureau. All of them get it.
I'm visiting here today with Sharlene Wells Hawkes. We've been talking about her current project and role that she's playing at Remember My Service, which is documenting the life of service for a lot of the veterans here in the United States. And Sharlene, we need to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll come back, and I want to talk more about your passion in life, and eventually what do you want to, at the end of the day, you want people to remember you by. We'll be right back after these messages.
He's the world's most trustworthy man. Tax filing deadlines are scheduled around his vacation calendar. The IRS agent who audited his client apologized.
I don't always advise people on their taxes, but when I do, I save them every penny legally possible.
GROCO CPAs and Advisors.
Come to GROCO and stay wealthy, my friend.
Welcome back. I'm here today with Sharlene Wells Hawkes. She's a former Miss America. She's a former ESPN host for several sporting events, and then she's working on her current project is Remember My Service, which is helped to archive and put together documentaries towards the service of the veterans that have served in America across all the armed forces.
And today's military, yes.
How did you find your passion in life, or what led you into this?
You know, I've always been about walking through open doors and never really just closing off everything just because either I was too scared to try it or something like that. So if there's an open door and there was an opportunity, I'm going, okay, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to give it a shot. Because really, when I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. Oh, and then I thought I was going to be an architect. I mean, really, I never dreamed ESPN because ESPN didn't exist when I was a teenager. I thought maybe concert pianist or something. So I had all these different ideas, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to just grab opportunities. And one thing would just lead to another, and I would just keep grabbing those opportunities. But how I found my most current passion was really just getting into the work and making sure that I was around people that I really respected. So when I went on with this company with Story Rock, I went on mostly because of the people and because of their mission. And their mission was to preserve history. And at the time it was with schools. And then it was like, wow, this is so broad. We can do this and this. And then after we worked with our first military command, I went, nobody else is preserving their history. They're having a challenge. Everybody else in the military is having a challenge. We can help with this. And the more I dove in, and when you find out that there's nobody serving a need, then you get really excited because it's like, I can do this. I can actually make a difference. And when you feel like you're making a difference, you feel like you got a purpose in life. Not that I didn't beforehand, but as much as I loved sports, I didn't really feel like that was making a difference in the world because I was enjoying myself, but I wasn't really making a difference. And I was seriously on the sidelines of life, not just a football game. I was watching everybody else do stuff and reporting on it, but it just didn't feel like I was personally involved. So for me to get personally involved in preserving history, you know, they make history every day, our men and women who are out there serving on our behalf and preserving our way of life. And for me to help make sure that their legacy of service is remembered and preserved and that they're able to pass it on. I heard one soldier, in fact, we got it on camera, he said, you know, I don't know much about my father or my grandfather's service in the Army because he came from a long line, but my children and my grandchildren will know about mine. And that really mattered to him. So everything that we do with the military just matters a lot to me, and it feels like I've found exactly what I'm supposed to do, and here it is taken. I'm half century now. This is my 50th year. I love it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There. So
thank you.
You know, I would say there's a spiritual aspect to what you're doing. Here these men and women had, you know, gave everything they had, laid their life on the line and then they come out of the service and they have a lifetime to think about it. When I often see people interviewed and they talk about their service, a lot of emotion behind that, memories of those that didn't make it.
Oh, exactly. And it is a brotherhood and a sisterhood. I mean, it's really a very unique bonding experience for them that is very difficult for them to share with others because they don't know really how much they're going to relate to what they're telling them. And so very often they don't. So what we do is put it into a format that makes it easier for them to share what they have done. Gives them a communication platform. My background actually is not in history, it's in communication. Both my degrees are in communication. And communication is so powerful towards the healing process. It helps when the more you communicate, the more people understand. And the more they understand, the more likely they are to support. And when somebody feels supported, they feel more resilient. So this connection between communication and resiliency is powerful. So that's kind of what I've been getting into is I want to get right down to the resiliency part of it. Tell your story, share your story, help others understand your story, and you will feel more supported.
Out of all the stories you've done, is there one that stands out?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many of them. I went over to Iraq and Afghanistan in 2009. In 2009, October is when I went up to Afghanistan, and they took us up to a forward operating base up near Pakistan border. And it was right about 5 miles down the road from COP Keating, Command Outpost Keating, where just 2 weeks before they had one of the bloodiest ambushes of the war. 8 of our guys were lost. And the survivors had come down to this forward operating base, and we spent 2 hours talking with them. And it was their first time sharing what had happened. In fact, they were really hesitant to talk about it. But because of my whole history in communication, I knew how important it was. Pull it out of them. And so they started talking. Very hard for them. One of them, I said, and it was a big aha moment for me. And I said, "Where did you find the courage?" There, 9 Silver Stars came out of that, and 2 Medal of Honor recipients from that one ambush that day. But this soldier said, I said, "Where did you find the courage?" And he said, "Oh, I did not feel courageous. I was scared to death, but I've been trained to react with courage." And that is so significant because that's like all of us. I mean, we have to train ourselves to react with faith, to react with courage. We can't just all of a sudden expect, oh, I'm going to be courageous when the time comes. You have to plan for what that time comes, when you have to make that decision or when you have to do that, and you train for that. It's amazing.
When everything's said and done, you've had a unique path in life, growing up in South America, the formative years, Miss America, ESPN host, now working on Remember My Service. When everything's said and done, though, what do you want to be remembered for?
As mom.
Okay, fair enough.
My mom, my kids. The best thing I've ever done is be a mom, and I have 4 great kids. And my husband, we've been married 27 years. 27 years next month. Just that's what makes me the happiest. And you know what? I learned a lot during my Miss America year. It's a huge year of discovery. And the thing that I learned the most was that I am not interested in fame. I'm not interested in certain things because I got exposed to it. And I went, ooh, that's not a motivator for me. Most people don't know that until after they've spent 30 years getting there. And then they go, oh, this is it? I don't know. So fortunately, I realized that for me, it would be my family that would mean the most to me. So of all the things I have been able to do, some fun things, but mom is the most important.
Thank you. Now, just one last note. Remember My Service. How does a person get more information on
Go to remembermyservice.com. And there's lots of ways to contact us there, or email me, info@remembermyservice.com.
Been visiting here today with Sharlene Wells Hawkes. And Sharlene, thank you for being on today's show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you.